You're all clear to book those tickets now. Welcome to the podcast where we discuss how to outmaneuver your opponents. I'm Faith, and I'm here with Jrod and his Dudeness. FFG has now given us information on the next level of competitive events towards the path to the Galactic Championship, and that is sector and regional qualifiers. Jrod, can you give us a summary of what they shared?
So basically, the big thing they shared are the dates and locations of sector qualifiers. So for the United States, we have Denver and Richmond on April 5th through 6th and April 26th and 27th, respectively. And then in Europa, you have Milan, Italy, and Liverpool, UK, March 29th through 30th and April 5th and 6th, respectively. So that's super cool. They also announced some of the we already announced some of the rewards for the sectors, I believe, right? Because that was the Kylo and the Obi-Wan, I believe,
and the
Matt.
Ray.
Yeah, so we had that, but they did announce that if you come in first or second for sectors, you get a ticket to the Galactic Championship and you get a flight to the Galactic Championship. So basically, you only have to cover your hotel stay for the weekend for that, which is pretty sweet. As a base ticket for the Galactic, I believe is like $50 just for like the base version. So they're going to give you that for free. And then if you want to upgrade it from there, you're welcome to. And I'm sure they'll track the cost of the base ticket for whatever upgrade you might want to do, or any add-ons, etc. I think that was the big. Oh, and they announced the prize walls as well. I believe, I don't know if there's going to be one at sectors though. Maybe only at regional. Hold on.
The prize walls at both. The prize walls at
yeah, it's because there was one at sectors too, right?
Yes, there's different ones for.
Yeah, so the sector one, and anyone who doesn't know what a prize wall is, basically, is for any event you do, you're going to earn tickets to the prize wall, and they'll have exclusive prizes on those walls for the events. Now, some events may have some overlap in them, like bigger events, and some events may have only very specific ones. But for this, I'm trying to see if I can find it. Here we go. Yeah.
So yes, they do. So they're alternate cards with Jrod's favorite border, and they chose Admiral Akbar, Han Solo, Chewbacca, the uncommon version from set 1. These are all from set 1, to clarify. Red 3 and Agent Callus. So almost all rares except for Chewbacca were given these alternate arts and Jrod's favorite border.
I hate this border. Ugly. Stop using it.
For the sectors. And then we also were told about regional qualifiers. And sector qualifiers, again, both these events, the regionals and sectors, are 2 days.
Mm-hmm.
Where we have a total of 4 sector qualifiers for the sector. We have 2 of them for regionals. One in the United States and one in Europe. The United States, we have hosted by Star City Games in my region, Minneapolis, Minnesota, on May 24th, 25th. And in Europe, they have it on May 3rd and 4th, so may the 4th be with you, in France. So they have a more central area for them. And same with Minneapolis, it's a middle of the country, so people from the East Coast and West Coast both have to fly halfway, kind of middle of the country. And we did get information on that regional prize wall cards. Dudeness, do you want to talk to us about those cards?
Sure. It looks like we got some Count Dooku action from set 3. Good old Feds Fire Spray from set 1. A little Kit Fisto from set 2. A Natural Life that looks pretty cool. Too bad the card's kind of dookie. And Mandalorian Armor. That one also is pretty sus-looking, but it's fine.
And like the previous one, they're the alternate arts with those frames. Where they mentioned that in the sector qualifier, the winner and the runner-up both get a paid ticket and get a paid flight. In the regional qualifier, they will get the top 8 will get a paid flight and a paid ticket. So that's pretty cool. That all you have to do is show up, meet me at the regional qualifier, and then join me in getting top 8, and you will have your trip covered to the Galactic Championship.
Not your stay covered. You have to figure out a hotel or whatever for the Galactic.
Sorry. Thank you.
Just for clarification, yeah.
Thank you. So out of
they
that,
also have. Sorry, hold on, real quick. They also have for the I believe it's only for the regional as well. I think the sector also had mats on the prize wall, but they didn't show them off, I don't think. But the regional had a mat. It has like They have like special art on mats that you can also win on the prize wall as well as sleeves. So they have Ahsoka, Plo Koon, and then a card that we have not seen yet from set 4 on sleeves for regionals. And I'm not sure if this. I know there was mats for sectors. I'm not sure if there was sleeves for
Yeah,
sectors.
the
But
mat for sector, they showed off Kylo's art from
yes,
set 2, but there was other mats behind it, but they didn't show off those. But I did not see sleeves in that one. So
correct. Yeah, so I'm assuming that means that sleeves are only in regionals and higher. So
yes, they
I
did
believe
show.
also for regional. Sorry, maybe you're going into this as well. That for top 64, is it for regionals or just for world? I think it's for regionals, right?
For both regional and for sectors, I'm
Oh,
pretty
it's
sure.
for both.
I thought
Okay,
that's
so
what
if,
it said.
I'm not positive on that. It might only be for regionals. So I know at least for regionals, definitely, and maybe for sectors. Let us know in the comments if you found the right answer, and let us know if we are wrong or right on this. But at least for regionals, if you finish top 64, you are the highest ranked player with your leader. So that means if you finished in 64th and you have finished with Hera Syndulla, and you are the only person playing Hera Syndulla like a madman or mad lady, then you will earn a free showcase from FFG for playing in top 64ing that event with Hera Syndulla. And that goes for all the leaders. So if you win the event, whatever leader you have, you will earn a showcase for that. So this kind of just is giving extra oomph to trying new and different leaders and doing well with it in the event. You can't just bring, you know, what's the dude from the Bad Batch there? I can't remember. Oh, Hunter. You can't just bring Hunter and be like, I'm going to bring Hunter and try to go top 54. You probably won't do it with that or Hera, as my other example was. But if you bring a reasonable deck and you're one of the few people playing it and you do well with it, like maybe Chancellor Palpatine, you could earn a free showcase for that.
So how many leaders do you think they will give out? How many showcases do you think they'll give out? Top 64. What variety
10.
would you guys? You think 10? I think that's a
I
good
think
number.
10.
Does this
That's
go
a
for
good,
all leaders though? Like even if half the field is one leader, the
because you have
top
to finish
guy,
in top 64. It's like 2,000 people, so you still have to finish pretty good.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. What would your
So
guess
it's
be?
not like you could go with like I said, you can't walk in there with Hera, go 0-8, and they're like, oh, you're the top Hera here because you're the only one that played it. Here's a free showcase. Like that's not gonna happen. You still go top 64. So
Dudeness, if you were to guess, how many do you think they'll give out?
I mean, maybe 16.
16 would be pretty good, I think. Yeah, that'd be 1/4 of the thing. I think that'd be. I think between 10 and 16, those are both reasonable numbers. I think. I love the idea because it does seem to encourage people to at least think about it.
mm-hmm.
Top 64 is a large amount, so if you can read the meta and you can counter against it with something maybe unexpected, I don't think it's unreasonable to say you make top 64. You get lucky on a couple matchups that are favorable for you. You're not even, I mean, you don't even have to win the event. You don't even have to get top 8, just top 64.
Right?
Yeah, and at these events, people will definitely just drop if they don't do well and join some side events to earn tickets for the prize wall. So if you're there and you start off like 3-0 and start really hot and you lose a little bit, probably worth your time to try to like stick it out and see how many wins you can grind out. Try to get that, especially if you have uh, a a different leader than most people would have. If you're playing a fringe leader that not many people have, it might be worth your time to try to stick it out and earn that, $100, $200 prize for a showcase.
Yeah, I think if you're playing Sabine, you're going to have to win. If you're playing Jango, you're probably going to have to get top 8. If you're playing like a top leader, yeah, expect that. For me, I think maybe if my Krennic or Obi-Wan, I could see that. I could see that being like one of those making top 64, maybe 2 of them.
Yep, absolutely. Same thing with Chancellor. I think he could be a good opportunity for that. I don't know if he can get you the whole way there, but I mean, I think he could do all right. Now, on these events, we'll actually have set 4, so I imagine all the leaders are mentioning right now probably won't matter too much because set 4 seems to be firing off some really spicy cards that we'll get to at some point on the podcast. Maybe not tonight, but maybe in the next one. But they're coming in hot and heavy, and I'm excited for what Set 4 is bringing. And I've already kind of decided that I'm done with PQs for the season because of how awesome Set 4 looks.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note, like, with planetary qualifiers, you see those there's a couple of them in different cities. Sometimes there's 2 on the same day in the same city, in the same area. But where store showdowns, you have every store is gonna have one. Planetaries, you've got a couple in a city. We're seeing these regionals and sectors, you're only getting 2 in America and 2 in Europe, with regionals 1 and 1. So those are much more limited events. We can imagine that we'll see these probably every set, 2, I imagine 2 sector qualifiers and 1 regional. They did mention that in season 1, you will start earning points, and I think they said, like, if you top 8 a regional, you'll get for sure enough points to qualify for the Galactic Championship, which after this first event, you'll need to qualify for. It's not just that anyone can join if you buy a
Right.
ticket.
Right. Yeah, and it's definitely gonna be an interesting how they decide to do it. Because like, I don't know, like, so I don't even understand, like, what does winning a PQ do? So winning a PQ, you don't even get a ticket to go to Worlds. You still have to buy a ticket to get the Worlds, right? By winning the PQ, all you did was like earn like a first day buy or something like that.
Yeah, I think in the future, I think they said though in the future, if you win a PQ, that'll be the minimum number of points. I think they said to qualify is if you win a
Gotcha.
PQ, you're for sure get enough points. It'll probably be a similar thing, I imagine, to this. Like a sector, if you win or come second, you probably qualify for the Galactic Championship, and if you top 8 a regional, because if there's only 1 per set, you'd think there's 3 sets in a year. So, yeah, so probably something like that.
Yeah.
And then just doing consistently well also. In going forward, if you don't win an event, but maybe you come, top 16 in a regional and top 16 in a sector, that'll probably be enough points for you to qualify as well.
Mm. And we actually missed one little bit here. For some of our astute listeners, they may be wondering, well, folks, what if I bring Luke and Darth Vader from set 1 and I top 64 this event?
You get screwed and you don't have one because there's no showcase for Luke and Vader.
Can't believe that. Wait, Dudeness, can you give them the news, actually?
We're getting showcases
Showcases?
and Vader from set 1.
Okay.
Vader 1 specifically looks pretty sweet. The Luke 1 is serviceable. But I would love to have the Vader showcase personally.
Yes, I think both of them look amazing, and they will also be able to be earned at the Galactic Championship only, if I remember correctly, by Prize Wall. So if you're earning tickets there, you'll be able to earn some Luke and Vader stuff. So I imagine there'll be a couple people crushing some side events while people are sweating it out in the main event and just stacking up their Lukes and Vaders and putting them on eBay real quick.
One thing I do want to also mention, sorry, is with the regional qualifiers, you remember that there are the prize cards for them, the Rey and the Palpatine, and there's
Mhm.
only 2 regional qualifiers, which means there's only going to be 2 champion. I think it's the Palpatine one is the champion one. So
Mm-mm.
there's only going to be 2 of those that say
I think it's Ray.
champion, or whichever one it is. There'll only be 2 of those that are stamped champion, which I think actually is pretty cool and makes it like a 1 of 2 card.
Would you get it graded?
If I won it,
Probably not. Solely for the fact that if it comes back not a 10, it's gonna like. So I've and I know you're laughing, but like, so in the Pokemon world, like if you grade a card, like right now the big thing is like the it's one of the evolutions. It's the Dark type one. I can't remember the name. I don't know. Whatever. It's one of the evolutions. Um, but it's no, I won't say Vaporeon. That's the water type. Anyways, so if you get that card is worth like $1,000 just raw, basically.
Okay.
If you get it graded, it's worth a boatload more. But if you get it graded and it's like not a 10, it's like a 9 is like $800.
Cool.
So you're actually better off just like not getting it graded unless you're pretty sure it's going to be a 10. You know what I mean? So it's one of those weird things where like I probably wouldn't. I would just try to find a buyer who wants to give me like a boatload of money for my ungraded card, ship it off in the safest top loader possible, and be very happy that I got a bunch of money.
it's for me at least, it's the authentication. Like I know in Magic they did the One Ring and they did the 1 of 1 One Ring,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Mhm.
feel that the grading like came back I think an 8.5 or a 9, not a 10, but it was still like the important thing was the fact that it was graded and that it was authenticated. Which, if anyone wants to know, these companies have sometimes their authentication is wrong, but they have ways to authenticate even one of one, or in this case, one of two items. With your thing about Vaporeon, I think the problem, or maybe the disconnect there, is when you have multiple of a thing you can buy. When you can buy a 9 or a 10, then it could hurt the value. But this, again, is one of two. There should only be two of these cards in existence. So it's not really like you have a lot of choice.
It's Umbreon. Thank you, Dudeness. And yeah, you're probably right. I mean, with only two of them in the world, it probably won't change the price too much. But then you're also putting money into something that you don't really have to as well, I think, in that point. Like, personally, if I had it, I would not spend my money to then do that. I would just take, like, I don't think it's worth the investment.
Yeah.
Because it costs, like, I think, like, I don't know how much it is, but for, like, that level of card, it would probably cost, like, $100 like that to get that graded. So, to me, if I wanted the money for it, I would just sell it. I don't think there's too much ROI there, personally.
No, that's fair. That makes sense. I would also do that. I mean, hopefully, hey, if I win one and you're interested, hit me up. I will be taking offers.
Yeah.
Out of the cards that we were given from the prize wall cards, which any of them speak to you? Any of them you think are interesting? I know, Jrod, you don't like the borders themselves. What about the art?
So I don't love the borders, everyone knows. However, I will say the Dooku art looks fantastic with that border. I actually like it on that and the Fet's Fire Spray. It seems to be on the villainy cards, it looks okay, and the heroism or neutral cards looks terrible. Or the darker cards as well. I think the art also helps. Like Kit Fisto's isn't miserable. But like the Fet's Fire Spray looks great. I also like Count Dooku, so I would definitely like to pick up one of each of those solely for the fact that I can put them in my twin son's deck list to pimp them out.
Mm-hmm. I know Dudeness had mentioned Unnatural Life as one that he liked. Did any other ones speak to you?
I mean, he pretty much rattled off the ones other than Unnatural Life. He only got a few of them.
That's fair. I didn't love any of the ones from the sectors. The Akbar looks like a meme to me. Han Solo is maybe the best Han Solo that we've gotten as an image. However, I can't say that I am in love. But it's not really fair, my opinion. As everyone knows, I'm just a regular frame, regular art kind of fan. That just ties it all together for me.
I do like the Red 3 art, though. I think that art is really good.
And like the planetary qualifiers, where they have that top symbol on them, denoting that they are the two lines, denoting that they are a planetary qualifier, we forgot to mention that at the sector and the regionals, there will be additional colored in white marks based on what event you're at to show everyone that you got this mat at a regional qualifier or at a sector qualifier.
Yep, absolutely.
So we'll have to see how it all plays out, which decks do well. They did give us a little bit of a pricing index on what these kind of prizes will cost, at least in the Liverpool and Milan sectors. We're not exactly sure how tickets or what gets you so many, but something like a booster pack would like 100 tickets, and then those cards that we talked about, the Akbar Red 3 Han Solo, Chewbacca, and Agent Callus, those are going to be like 200 tickets. So they're like twice as much as a booster pack. So just kind of to give an idea of what they're maybe thinking, or like a playmat, they're thinking as 10 times as much of that.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting. And it's funny because they have 2 set 4 cards in there. So we have names of some set 4 cards, Scramble Fighters and Close the Shield Gate. So we'll have to wait and see what those cards do. But yeah, I mean, I think that these seem cool. I mean, if you picked up the pins already, I know a lot of people did that at like PAX. They did a bunch of things. Every time you like played one of the designers, they gave you a pin or something like that. I forget what it was. So that was the thing. I know they gave out to the creators that were lucky enough to get out to that very first event that they flew everyone out for in Minnesota that we were just short of making. They gave them like a whole pack of those pins, but those are something you can earn now at these events. So it'll be interesting to see what the pricing is for the events, because usually when you join these events, even if you get last place, you earn some amount of tickets, whether it's like 50 or 100 or something like that. So and I would imagine the lowest you can earn is 100, since you have a booster pack there. I don't think they'd make it like 50 because that'd be kind of awkward because then you get stuck with 50 and like what are you gonna do with that?
Right.
So I hope it's the minimum's 100, but I guess actually the Salts crate is 250, so that could be kind of weird. Well, I guess this might not be the whole wall though. There could be extra some smaller stuff in there maybe too as well. I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see what the structure is like. If I win in a pot of 8, how much do I win? Do I win 1,000 prize tickets? Like, is that getting me half a mat? So I just gotta win 2 and I can get a mat. Like, how does that work?
Yeah, and they did mention that at all the regional sectors and planetaries. I think they said all of them, they're going to have side events at them. I think obviously the bigger the event, like for the Galactic Championship, they talked about how they're going to have the first sector qualifier at the Galactic Championship for day 2, as in if you don't do well enough in the Galactic Championship, hey, you can go play in this other big event, or you can play in other size small events. Probably there'll be drafts on demand, pods on demand, Twin Suns.
Yep.
Yeah, so I can see them doing all those kind of things.
I'm just going to tell everyone right now who's listening, if you're at one of these events and you see me there, I know that we don't want to show our faces on this, but if you see me or hear my voice and you come up to me and go like, hey, Jrod, do you want to play Twin Suns? I'm going to say yes. So please do that. Thank you.
But when you're playing Twin Suns with Jrod, how many cards are you going to need to play in your deck?
Oh, yeah, 80, because we're hitting set 4 releases. That's it, 80 card Twin Suns. We're playing some real Twin Suns. This is the year of the real SWU. Last year was fake SWU. This year is real SWU. Yeah, we were playing like watered down SWU.
Baby's first SWU.
Correct. Exactly.
Now it's time for the adult version.
Correct. and you're all laughing, but I'm gonna be honest with you. I know the Garbage Rollers have been putting out some videos the past couple of days of them posting set 4 gameplay, and let me tell you, I watched both of those beginning to end. Actually, I lied. I watched the they were doing Piet versus I believe it's Wedge, the first one, and Wedge went A-wing, then he put on
Chewbacca?
No, that'd have been great. He didn't have Chewbacca. He had the 1 cost guy, so he literally went on one turn, went A-wing into the 1 cost thing, made it 0 by Wedge, and then went wing leader and swung for like 6 on turn 2. I'm like, all right, so Piet just loses because there's no way Piet can deal with that because it's Piet red, so like he can only deal damage to it, so he can't.
Damage, right?
Yeah, so there's no way for him to kill it in that deck.
Sounds sick, dude.
Right? And guess what? Piet won the game. Spoiler.
He won game 1.
Go watch the game. I'm telling you, like the fact that Wedge could do that, and then Piet does some crazy stuff to get back into it, and Tyler misplayed a little bit there, but like it was just showing the power level of these decks. Like I don't think there's too many decks in the format currently that could have dealt with either of what those two were doing.
So I'm just gonna give everyone a spoiler of a card that might be pretty good. Power Down. That would really shut down that play.
The set 1 card, Power Failure?
Power Failure, Power Down. Same thing, yeah.
It's very different, but we're getting there.
The one that removes all upgrades from a pick a target.
Yes.
I'd be pretty sad if my opponent did that to me if I have tried that setup.
Dudeness, just to get your hype train going a little bit here for this aggro deck, that Haller did not have access to Frisk or Biggs Darklighter or any red pilot at the time. He only had like 2 green pilots and R2. So, because they weren't spoiled yet. So, now if you try the deck to play it and you were to upgrade with actually like pretty good pilots, like Frisk is a nuts pilot, in my opinion, because when you play him as a pilot, you can defeat another pilot. So that's just, real good on its own there. Yep. Yeah. And Biggs obviously is insane too. So, I don't know. It's like gonna be nuts. This set is like the card level. When you see a common, like, oh, it's a common, okay. It's like, wow, that'd be like an uncommon in year 1. It's like, yes. Like all these cards are just better. Like they're just better than everything we've seen last year. And it's not really that close. And I had an argument with my buddy at the PQ who finished 9th. And he's like, oh yeah, I can't wait for like Boss Blue to be so good next set. I'm dude, like, I don't think you understand. Like, it's gonna be real tough for like Boss Blue to be like that good. He's like, what do you mean? I'll just do all these things. And I'm just like, I don't know, because like, is Boss Blue gonna want to just on turn 1 just take initiative and then like power the dark side and A-wing? Like maybe, but it doesn't feel great. right? Like maybe the play, so he can't put a pilot on it. But like I don't know. It's like all these power levels of this set 4 seem insane compared to set 1. To the year 1, excuse me, on all 3 sets. So, and if set 2 also adds a bunch of nuts cards, like I've been hearing, like I think this year is just going to change how we completely play Star Wars Unlimited, and I'm super excited and ready for it. Like it's not going to change it like holistically. The gameplay and the good things about SWU are going to stay the same. We're just going to get more powerful cards. I don't know about you guys, but I felt like we've been playing like sealed decks for constructed. So like the power level hasn't been there for me. Like I was sitting there at the PQ crying because I had this 2/3 with Restore 1 in my deck, and I'm like, why am I playing this such a terrible fucking card? Excuse me, this terrible card. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm ready for us to have 6 sets. And honestly, oh, go ahead, sorry.
I think I'm just looking forward to getting some more options in space. I feel like it's not. I don't think it's been neglected per se, but you could definitely tell it has some. It hasn't been focused enough, especially being half of the game board. And I don't think that means that every time it needs to have like the same number of units in both, but I think there needs to be the same level of care and the same level of focus that like I should be able to do interesting things. I would say that you should have aggro strats or just going wide strats in space like you have on the ground. And then it makes deck building even more complicated because then you're like, how much resources am I going to devote to both? Where you could have some decks that are built where they're equally focused on both and some that go all out on one. And that's going to make deck building a lot more interesting to me.
Yeah, and to kind of piggyback on what we talked about last week too, about rotation, like I know everyone's a little concerned about rotation coming up so quickly, and that some people are not big fans of it. And I feel like I said it in Discord today. Shout out if you're not in our Discord, hop in. People are chatting all the time about great stuff, so definitely come in and join the discussion in there. But people are asking about rotation in there. And I had said that it seems like everyone's split on it. The veterans who have been around a bit seem to be very happy with how rotation is, and the newer players are not happy with rotation. From my perspective, what I'm seeing from people and hearing from people, and I think the reason why some of the newer players that are scared of rotation happening so fast is that they're just concerned that their investment or their cards are going to be worth nothing. And truthfully, if the format that FFG supports is supported properly, those cards will hold value. Some will still drop because as you enter in more powerful cards, some of those cards from the first year won't be as good. And sets 2 and 3 weren't very good, so there's only going to be probably a handful of cards that are going to be really good. But they'll still be wanted for Twin Suns and that stuff. So there'll always be some reason for it, for niche reasons. So, are they going to be worth, $40 a card? No. But this game is already pretty cheap as it is. And if you're trying to think of this game as an investment, like we don't have a card, like I mentioned the Pokemon card earlier. So like this shouldn't be an investment strategy like some people are doing with Pokemon. Like just play the game, have fun. They're cards. And if you're worried about spending money in the game, like don't buy sealed product. Sealed product is a gamble. I've said it over and over. I would buy singles. That's just the most financial responsible way to play a card game. Find a deck you like, buy singles, and that's kind of the best way to go. Obviously, if you want to have all the cards like myself, I know Faith's kind of in this boat too. Like we end up buying a bit more because we want to just have all the cards so we can just build any deck that we want. But we're mad lads. Not everyone's got to do that. If you like to play an aggro deck and go, okay, what's the best aggro deck? Wait for someone to come out with a good aggro deck. You're like, that one looks fun. Let me try that. Boom. I'm gonna buy those cards. That's just kind of like the best way to do it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of engaging in your hobby is the way that to the level you want to. If you want to engage in a more amount where you have more cards and more ability to change on the fly, do that. And if you don't have the ability to do that, or you don't want to do that, and you want to just play certain cards or decks, then the best way to acquire those cards, in my mind, are to just buy them online. And there's usually aggro tends to be a little bit cheaper in general.
Usually.
Yeah. So if you are not able to, if you don't have the ability, or right now is not the time where you can afford more expensive cards, you probably can still afford a decently good aggro deck. And even if you can't afford the best aggro deck, you can be a little creative and you will find ways to get cheaper options. I know in set 1 we had found a really cool double double red IG-88 deck that honestly ended up winning a non-tournament. So you could do it.
It won a game or a series, but yes.
It won a
technically did
series that was the finals.
yes. So
Let's
Bean Green
go.
might have got us to the finals, but then ID took it down. I will also have another point to add to that too. Oh, and like right now, for example, one of the best decks in the format is Django Tarkentown. I don't think anyone disagrees with that. And you can go on TCG Player right now and buy every single card from that on TCG Player for $130-ish, which is basically the MSRP of a box. So instead of buying a box, you buy a deck. And realistically, all the commons and uncommons, you can probably go to your local game store, go join like a draft, and then be like, hey, I'm new. I'm trying to build Django Talking Town. If you guys have any commons or uncommons for that deck, it would be really helpful if you could help me out. I'll trade some stuff for it, whatever. Like, you can cheaply find ways to get the cards and just buy the expensive cards you need, like the Kylo's Tie Silencer, etc.
My only hope from what we've found out of about these regionals and sectors is I do hope that we get one of them that at one point is limited. I would really like that. I know that might be too much. We might do that at planetary level. Maybe it's a stretch, but I really like limited in this game, and I want it to be featured in a prominent way.
Yeah, I love limited. I talked to I believe Corey and Xander at PAX about doing like a sealed Swiss and then a draft top 8, and how awesome I think that would be, and got some positive feedback. Obviously, we'll see what happens with that, but I did mention that to them and tried to bring up. I think that would be a cool idea to have like draft be like a competitive format, because it would be really cool to do like a team event where it was like
Yeah.
like I think you
Yeah.
mentioned it, where it was like sealed the eternal format and then premiere. It's like, hey, who can assemble a team of the players of the best of these 3 things and all that stuff, or have an event. It's a solo event where you have to do a sealed. You have a sealed deck, a premier deck, and a thing, and every round it changes. So you have to go through like 9 rounds, and you're doing a different deck each round. You know what I mean? So you're playing your premier deck 3 times, to extend the eternal deck 3 times, and then your sealed deck 3 times.
Yeah,
You know?
just make yourself an all-around player. So I really hope that there's a lot to explore here. This is season 0, so they're keeping it all pretty standard, pretty reasonable. They're trying not to do anything that rocks the boat. Well, I may want more. I can appreciate that. So we'll just have to wait and see. And we do want to thank you guys. I know we haven't talked about any specific cards on these last 2 pods. We just wanted to get all that information out because that's all important information. But we will be looking at talking about the individual cards themselves that we have spoiled for set 4 on our next pod. Is there anything we want to wrap up, you guys, before we head out?
I think you're all clear, kid.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on El Maneuver.
Cheers.
Later.